Never underestimate the power of a graveyard after dark, because its secrets can change you forever. This story centers on an old graveyard, known for its eerie atmosphere, and the strange occurrences that happen there at night. Meet David, a curious teenager, who loved exploring the unknown. He had heard countless rumors about the graveyard, stories of people who went in at night, and came out changed. One evening, David decided to investigate the graveyard himself. Armed with a flashlight, and a sense of adventure, he made his way to the iron gates that marked the entrance. The air was thick with fog, and the trees cast long, twisted shadows on the ground. David's heart raced as he stepped through the gates, feeling an inexplicable chill. As he ventured deeper into the graveyard, he noticed that the temperature seemed to drop. The silence was unsettling, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. David's flashlight flickered, casting eerie light on the tombstones. He could feel an unseen presence watching him, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. Suddenly, David heard a faint whisper. It was barely audible, but it sent shivers down his spine. He tried to ignore it, but the whisper grew louder, more insistent. He followed the sound, his curiosity overcoming his fear. The whisper led him to an old, crumbling mausoleum. The door was ajar, and David felt compelled to enter. Inside the mausoleum, the air was even colder. David's breath came out in visible puffs, and he felt a sense of foreboding. He saw a faint glow, coming from a corner of the room. As he approached the source of the light, David saw an old, weathered book, lying on a stone pedestal. The book seemed to pulse with energy, and David felt drawn to it. He opened the book, revealing pages filled with strange symbols and incantations. As he read, the whispering grew louder, and David felt a presence enveloping him. The book described ancient rituals and dark magic, practices that could alter reality itself. David's heart pounded, as he realized, the graveyard held more secrets than he could have imagined. David's mind raced with questions. What kind of power did this book hold? Who had written it, and why had it been left here? He knew he had to find out more. As he continued reading, David felt a strange sensation wash over him. The world around him seemed to blur, and he felt as though he was being pulled into the pages of the book. Suddenly, David found himself standing in a different part of the graveyard. The atmosphere was even more oppressive, and he could hear distant, ghostly wails. David realized he had been transported to a different time, a time when the graveyard was in active use. He saw people dressed in old-fashioned clothing, mourning their loved ones. He watched as a group of hooded figures gathered around a fresh grave, chanting in a language he couldn't understand. They performed a ritual, and David felt a surge of dark energy. He knew he had to find a way back to his own time, but he didn't know how. The hooded figures seemed to sense his presence, and they turned towards him, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. David's heart raced as he ran through the graveyard, desperately searching for a way back. The hooded figures pursued him, their whispers growing louder and more menacing. Just as David thought he was trapped, he saw a faint light in the distance. He ran towards it, hoping it would lead him back to his own time. The light grew brighter, and David felt a sense of relief as he stepped into it. He found himself back in the mausoleum, the book still open on the pedestal. David's mind was reeling from the experience. He knew he had to leave the graveyard, but he couldn't resist taking the book with him. He needed answers, and he hoped the book would provide them. As he left the mausoleum, David felt the weight of the book in his backpack. The whispers had stopped, but he knew the graveyard's secrets were far from uncovered. Over the next few days, David studied the book, trying to decipher its meaning. He discovered that the rituals described within it could open portals to other realms. David realized that the graveyard was a nexus point, a place where the veil between worlds was thin. The book contained the knowledge needed to access these realms, but it also warned of the dangers involved. Despite the risks, David couldn't resist the allure of the unknown. He began experimenting with the rituals, hoping to unlock the secrets of the graveyard. As he delved deeper into the book, David's personality began to change. He became more withdrawn, more obsessed with the dark magic described within the pages. His friends and family noticed the change, but David brushed off their concerns. He was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. One night, David decided to perform a particularly dangerous ritual. He returned to the graveyard, feeling a mixture of fear and excitement. As he began the ritual, the air grew colder, and the whispers returned. David felt a surge of energy as he chanted the incantation, his words echoing through the graveyard. Suddenly, a portal opened before him. Through it, David could see a world of darkness and shadow, a realm of lost souls and forgotten secrets. David hesitated for a moment, then stepped through the portal. He felt a rush of cold air, and an overwhelming sense of dread. The whispers grew louder, and David felt as though he was being watched. He found himself in a desolate landscape, filled with twisted trees and crumbling tombstones. The sky was dark, and the air was thick with mist. David knew he had to be careful. The book had warned of the dangers of this realm, and he could feel the presence of malevolent entities watching him. As he explored the realm, David encountered spirits and apparitions, each with their own stories of loss and despair. They warned him of the dangers that lurked in the shadows, and the consequences of meddling with dark magic. David's determination wavered, but he pressed on, hoping to find a way to unlock the graveyard's secrets and return to his own world. He stumbled upon an ancient temple, hidden deep within the realm. Inside, he found a pedestal, similar to the one in the mausoleum, but this time, it held a glowing orb. David reached for the orb, feeling its energy pulse through him. He knew it held the key to his escape, but he also sensed the danger it posed. As he took the orb, the temple began to tremble, and the whispers grew louder. David felt a surge of power, and he knew he had to act quickly. He performed the ritual described in the book, using the orb to open a portal back to his own world. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to close in around him. With a final, desperate effort, David stepped through the portal, clutching the orb tightly. He felt a rush of cold air, and a blinding light. When he opened his eyes, he found himself back in the mausoleum, the orb still glowing in his hand. The whispers had stopped, and the air felt warmer. David knew he had uncovered only a fraction of the graveyard's secrets. The book and the orb were powerful tools, but they came with great risks. He decided to hide the book and the orb, knowing that their power could easily corrupt those who sought to use them. David couldn't ignore the graveyard's secrets, but he also knew the importance of caution. From that night on, David's personality remained changed. He was more reserved, more aware of the unseen forces that surrounded him. He shared his experiences with a select few, hoping to warn them of the dangers of the graveyard. Some listened, while others dismissed his stories as mere fantasy. But David knew the truth. The graveyard held secrets that could change those who dared to explore it. And he would never forget the whispers, the shadows, and the dark magic that had nearly consumed him. Despite his changed personality, David couldn't shake the feeling that the graveyard still had more secrets to reveal. He felt a strange compulsion to return and uncover its mysteries. One night, David decided to visit the graveyard again. This time, he brought along a friend, Sarah, who was fascinated by his stories. She wanted to see the graveyard for herself and experience its eerie atmosphere. As they approached the graveyard, the air grew colder, and the fog thickened. Sarah felt a sense of unease, but was determined to explore the place that had changed her friend so profoundly. They entered the graveyard, their flashlights casting eerie light on the tombstones. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. David led Sarah to the mausoleum, explaining the significance of the book and the orb. Sarah listened intently, her curiosity piqued. Inside the mausoleum, David showed Sarah the pedestal, where he had found the book. The air was colder here, and they could feel an unseen presence watching them. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine as she examined the pedestal. She could sense the power that lay hidden within the graveyard, and it both fascinated and terrified her. David retrieved the book and the orb from their hiding place, showing Sarah the strange symbols and incantations. They decided to perform a ritual together, hoping to uncover more of the graveyard's secrets. As they chanted the incantation, the air grew colder, and the whispers returned. David and Sarah felt a surge of energy as a portal opened before them, revealing a realm of shadows and despair. With a deep breath, they stepped through the portal together, determined to uncover the graveyard's secrets. They found themselves in a desolate landscape, filled with twisted trees and crumbling tombstones. The sky was dark, and the air was thick with mist. The oppressive atmosphere sent chills down their spines. David and Sarah explored the realm, encountering spirits and apparitions, each with their own stories of loss and despair. The spirits warned them of the dangers that lurked in the shadows, and the consequences of meddling with dark magic. As they ventured deeper into the realm, they stumbled upon an ancient temple, hidden within the mist. Inside, they found a pedestal, similar to the one in the mausoleum, but this time, it held a glowing orb. David reached for the orb, feeling its energy pulse through him. He knew it held the key to their escape, but he also sensed the danger it posed. Sarah watched nervously, knowing that their fate rested on David's decision. As David took the orb, the temple began to tremble, and the whispers grew louder. They felt a surge of power, and knew they had to act quickly. Using the knowledge from the book, they performed a ritual to open a portal back to their own world. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to close in around them. With a final, desperate effort, David and Sarah stepped through the portal, clutching the orb tightly. They felt a rush of cold air, and a blinding light. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves back in the mausoleum, the orb still glowing in David's hand. The whispers had stopped, and the air felt warmer. They had escaped the realm of shadows, but the experience had left a lasting impact. David and Sarah knew they had uncovered only a fraction of the graveyard's secrets. The book and the orb were really powerful and came with risks. They decided to hide the book and the orb, knowing that their power could easily corrupt those who sought to use them. From that night on, both David and Sarah were changed. They were more reserved, more aware of the unseen forces that surrounded them. They shared their experiences with a select few, hoping to warn others of the dangers of the graveyard. Despite their efforts to keep the graveyard's secrets hidden, rumors continued to spread. People were drawn to the mystery and danger, and many ventured into the graveyard at night, hoping to uncover its secrets for themselves. David and Sarah formed a pact to protect the graveyard and its secrets. They became guardians, watching over the graveyard, and ensuring that the dark magic within remained undisturbed. Over time, they encountered others, who had been changed by their experiences in the graveyard. Some had been driven mad by the whispers, while others had gained new abilities. Together, they formed a network of guardians, each dedicated to protecting the world from the graveyard's dark influence. The graveyard remained a place of mystery and danger, but thanks to David, Sarah, and their allies, its secrets were kept in check. They knew the importance of vigilance and caution, and were always prepared to face the next threat. As the years passed, David and Sarah continued their work, ever watchful and ever ready. They had learned the true power of the graveyard, and the importance of protecting those they loved from its dark influence. In the end, their story was one of courage, determination, and the unbreakable bond between friends. They had faced the darkness together, and emerged stronger for it, knowing that as long as they stood together, there was always hope. If this eerie tale captivated you, hit like, share, and subscribe for more stories that'll send shivers down your spine.